What's up? It's Jeremy Picker from Amber Creative.
This is Deanna with In the Zoning and Print Girl Mafia.
This is Ray Weiss with Printing United Alliance.
You're listening to the Two Regular Guys podcast.
Hosted by Terry Combs RG, Regular Guy, and Aaron Montgomery.
The place to be for industry news.
The best dad jokes on earth, along with relevant topics to apparel decorators.
Fashion to the people.
All right, welcome into the show. It is Friday, September 5th, 2025. I'm Terry Combs. You can find me at terrycombs.com.
And I'm Aaron Montgomery from our Success Group and American Print and Supply. And this week, Terry, we're excited to welcome back a couple of friends of ours here. We got Lizbeth Lyons-Black and Adrian Palmer going to be joining us to discuss the latest happenings in the Women in Print Alliance and some program milestones that they've achieved, and just exciting presence coming up at the 2025 Printing United Expo. So can't wait. Just kind of get an update and kind of see what's happening. Really exciting stuff. Sounds like from what we've heard so far, but also hear there's maybe going to be some breaking news today too.
Exactly right. Breaking news. We love that.
Yeah,
no secret sauce this week, but make sure you check out the past editions of the Secret Sauce at the Two Regular Guys YouTube channel. And we will be back next week with an all new. And Aaron, I'm wearing my Chiefs shirt today because NFL season started last night. Chiefs play tonight. I'm flying to Chicago after the show, and I'm going to land 1 hour before the game starts. So I'm already in my gear.
I appreciate that you share that, because to be honest with you, I would have no clue. I don't follow at all. I'm kind of in Eric's camp sometime. My life is all volleyball right now, actually. So we have tryouts for volleyball for my son this weekend, and we've been doing nothing but volleyball. So I didn't even know that the NFL was starting. So thank you for that update.
Ryan Schottenheimer, who is the new coach for the Dallas Cowboys, they were filling time last night because there was a rain delay, and they're showing pictures of him through his life in college. And then they showed him in high school where he was. Now, this is telling you how you're getting older, your kids are getting older. He was the senior quarterback at Blue Valley High School in Kansas City, Overland Park, Kansas, when my boys were freshmen on the team. So, and now he's the coach of the Dallas Cowboys. So my sons are not assistant coaches. They're just regular guys.
I love it. All right. Good deal. Well, actually, coming up here, we've got the news segment from Cassie Green with Apparelist, and I just want to make sure we get all of the I's dotted and T's crossed here. But we also have Amanda checking in. Happy Friday to Amanda, and Doug Sobel also checking in. Hey, everyone. So, Terry, are you ready for the news from Cassie?
I am ready. Let's hear the news.
Okay.
Hey, all you regulators. I am so happy to be bringing you the news on this fine September day. And for all of you football fans out there, I'm sure all of you are sharing in the excitement of the start of a fresh NFL season. Go Broncos. Just had to say it. But that's not why we're here. We're here to share some industry headlines for all of you. So the first headline I have for all of you today is Los Angeles Apparel opens doors to New York location. So after months of teasing a location in New York, Los Angeles Apparel has officially opened its doors on the East Coast. The company announced on its Instagram page that the Soho flagship store is now open for business Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., Friday and Saturday from 10 a.m. to 8:30 p.m., and Sunday from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. According to an article from Vernon Proper, the store, which is located at 480 Broadway, occupies more than 20,000 square feet and has been described by the company as a, quote, superstore. This is just the second physical location for Dove Charney's brand, which produces most of its inventory at its South Central location in California. So Charney has long found himself at the center of headlines, from his history of launching American Apparel to being ousted from the board in 2014. In 2022, Charney declared personal bankruptcy, and most recently again found his way into mainstream conversation via the Netflix documentary on American Apparel. So you can actually find reports on all of these headlines at apparelist.com. All right, y'all. Second headline I have for you today. Redwood Classics Apparel launches Redwood Classics Apparel launches Canada co-brand series. So this is really fun and from our friends over at Redwood Classics located in Canada, but they are a full-service apparel manufacturer and they have just announced the launch of the Canada co-brand series, a simple way for corporate buyers to showcase Canadian pride while supporting the Canadian economy. The new program features a collection of Canadian-made garments paired with bold, durable appliques inspired by iconic national symbols. From maple leaf chenille patches to premium flag decals, the Canada co-brand series offers clients the opportunity to customize Redwood Classics apparel with stylish and Canadian patriotic decorations, the company says in a press release. So you can learn, again, more about that by clicking the news link. Aaron, Terry, back to you guys, and thanks so much.
Well, look at Cassie shouting out the NFL also. But I don't know. Broncos, come on.
Love it, love it. I figured that would be a little bit of a jab to you there, but I love it. All right. Well, thank you, Cassie, for sharing that, and exciting to hear. Just kind of all the stuff that they're doing over at Apparelist, I guess, is what I'm excited about. Interesting news for sure, but they do such a great job of covering the industry, like all of our news media partners do. So we really appreciate her giving us the time to share the news, Terry. So.
Yep, and Dove just keeps popping up, doesn't he?
He does. He does.
3 decades.
Absolutely, interesting character. You and I've had an opportunity to meet him in person several times, years and years ago.
Yep.
What a character!
Entourage.
Yeah. We'll leave it at that because we don't want to crack open that can of worms, I don't think, today. All right. Well, let's talk about something else that I think is important to the Two Regular Guys podcast, Terry. You've got a dad joke for us. Are you ready?
And every time I hear the intro where Cassie says the best dad jokes, I feel like, man, gotta deliver.
The cool part is when you say the best dad jokes, like the whole kind of thing is set in a different, because dad jokes are supposed to be bad jokes, I think so. All right, well, let's do that.
Shot.
Yeah, absolutely. So whenever you're ready, Terry.
Aaron, I was driving. I came across a temporary road sign that said "Survey crew ahead."
Interesting. So what did you do?
Oh, it turns out they're actually not interested in your opinion. I know that now.
Huh.
Survey crew.
Survey crew. You were surveying the crew. I see. All right.
Before we dive in, we want to thank everybody for checking out the Two Regular Guys podcast. We still need your voices. We would love to have regulators participate in our show intros. Go to osg.link/intro, read a few sentences, and be a part of every show. We are always looking for new guests, so if you or anyone you know would like to join us, go to calendly.com/2 regular guys to book a future episode, or email us at info@tworegularguys.com with any of your show ideas. If you are listening to the podcast version of the show, we would appreciate you sharing the Two Regular Guys podcast with all of your industry friends so they can become regulators too. We would appreciate you giving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Podcast, YouTube Podcast. Wherever you do your podcast listening, we are there. And if you're watching us live right now, please join in with your comments and your questions.
Absolutely. All right. Well, good stuff, Terry. Let's do that. Let's dive in. And you guys, again, if you're listening live, we definitely want to have this be a conversation. Like I said, super excited to learn a little bit more about where things have gone since the last time that we got to host Lizbeth and Adrian, catching up with her as well. So are you ready to do that, Terry?
Let's do it. Let's bring them on.
Okay. Welcome, you guys.
Hello.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on. And hey, we don't do the bios anymore, but you guys have both been on the show before. So tell our listeners a little about yourself. And Adrian, let's start with you. Tell us what you're up to these days.
Yeah, hey guys, thanks for having us. Always happy to be here, especially happy to be here with Lisbeth representing the Women in Print Alliance. But I do miss my monthly news segments. Um, yes, so an update on my end. I recently launched my own business, AP Media Group. I'm offering freelance and consulting services to manufacturers, associations, vendors, suppliers, publications, and shops in the print industry. I'm currently working with Fabric, which is executive coaching for print shop owners in the decorated apparel space. Helping business owners grow has always been really important to me. So Fabric aligns, with my goals for the industry. You had on two of the co-founders, Bruce Ackerman and Stephen Farrig, a couple months ago. So regulators can go watch that episode to learn more. I'm also working on some projects with Roland DG and some articles for Graphics Pro Magazine. But I'm also very much open to more work. So keep me in mind.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How about you, Lisbeth? Tell us a little bit about your journey here in the industry.
Oh, well, thank you. As Adrian said, thank you for having us. Happy to be here. And I think it's been about a year since I've been with you all and the regulators. So in that year, we have continued. I'm the director of Women in Print Alliance, for those who don't know. And Women in Print Alliance is an organization that was originally a volunteer, grassroots-driven organization that Printing United Alliance took on as a sponsored project and built the infrastructure and hired a director, which is me, and eventually launched a formal paid membership program. And so that's what my summer has been all about, celebrating. Not just that summer is my favorite season, which it is, and I'm like, you can keep your pumpkin spice lattes away from me for another month because I am hanging on by my claws to the end of summer. The pool here does not close until September 14th. So not only was I enjoying my favorite season of summer, but August marked the 1 year anniversary of Women in Print Alliance launching that formal paid membership program. And so, like any good person celebrating, thank you. Why celebrate just one day? We celebrate all month long. Those people who celebrate their birthday months, that was us in August. So that's been fun. And, now it's like, boom, back to reality, back to school, back to work, back to looking forward to all the things fall has to offer, including Expo, which I know we'll talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Keep your pumpkin spice lattes. We'll stick with this. But yes, there is a reason to look forward to fall, and that's in Orlando coming up. But all right, well, yeah, we just looked it up. I think Eric just actually put it online there. It was August 2nd when we of last year, 2024, when we were able to chat with you, and you kind of announced this program. So that year anniversary, super cool. But just give us a little bit, Elizabeth, help us out here real quick. Women in Print Alignments. Can you share kind of a quick overview of kind of the mission and vision?
Absolutely. So our mission is to attract, advance, and advocate for women in the printing industry. And really, it really comes down to two kind of twin goals. One is community building and one is workforce development. And the community building is important because we know that, and it really ties together with the workforce development, because we know our industry is competing against other manufacturing sectors and other industries for the best and the brightest talent. And we, as an industry, I think there's an understanding that there has to be some outreach to some populations that maybe have been less represented in the industry to date, whether it's less represented by gender or by race or by ethnicity. And so we're really looking at the gender focus, obviously, with Women in Print Alliance, and really trying to not only create an industry that's hospitable and a place where women can grow and thrive and shine, but really kind of showing that off, because the industry has come a long way in support of women. There are some women who've had remarkable careers and really blazed trails. And so part of what we want to do is really highlight that and be a platform to highlight those pathways so that women coming up in the industry have role models, have mentors, and see that this industry is one, as I said, where they can grow and thrive and shine. So that's really the community building aspect of what we do. And as I said, it really all comes back to workforce development, right? And industry culture. And that's what we are really all about. And we do that by providing this network, a formal organization where women can come together, they can have networking opportunities, professional education, seminars, and webinars, as well as just build the collective knowledge base for women in the industry so that women have the confidence to go out there, get their next big job in print, and more importantly, stay in the industry. That's the attract piece is important, but advance is very important too, because we certainly want women to see this as a long career path.
Love it. Wow. Love it. Cool. All right, Terry. Well, what else we got here?
Well, so looking back at this first year, and what stands out as the biggest success, most popular initiative so far? Adrian, what stands out for you?
I've really enjoyed the community or the local meetups. We had our first one in Phoenix earlier this year. We got together for Congress of Committees. So we had our alliance members there in Scottsdale, actually. And then Elizabeth put together kind of like a test run in Scottsdale. And women showed up at a bar restaurant, and it was fantastic. It was women from the alliance. It was women who were local print shop owners or in the print industry. And it was like, okay, this has legs. This is great. So I think the second one was in Charlotte, which I didn't get to attend. And then the third one was here in Chicago, where I live. And it was at an awesome rooftop bar. And it's just so amazing when you get women together, especially when they're local, because then they get to work with each other, they get to know each other, and then they're planning to go to Orlando, for the next event. And then they have someone, it's like, oh yeah, didn't we meet at the Hoxton in Chicago? Like, do you want to get together and go to some of these events at the Pretty United Expo or whatever big event is happening? So it's just, that's been amazing to me. I think that was something that we've been wanting for a really long time, is to have regional events and regional meetups, and to see that come to fruition was just very exciting.
Awesome. How about you, Elizabeth? What stood out to you?
I would just add to that for a moment, because and Adrienne, being local to Chicago, by the way, was instrumental in helping pick a very awesome venue. So thank you to Adrienne and Jamie Herond. And this is a good time for me to mention that all of our programming is driven by a volunteer advisory council. And many of these women have been with and affiliated with Women in Print Alliance before it was a formal membership organization, and way before I came along. And we continue to grow that advisory council. So Adrienne and Jamie, in their role as our local Chicago people, picked that venue, and it was great. But what I saw happen at that event and at other events like it, we did one in DC as well, kind of in conjunction with Printing United Alliance's legislative fly-in back in May. And most of the women that are there have not met one another before. And I think that's what's really something that's really important and also very cool about Women in Print Alliance, is that we are big tent. We are inclusive when it comes to all the different segments. I know we're talking to the regulators today, and everybody's very focused in this audience on apparel. But we had women at the meetups who were in the apparel segment, the implant segment. We had an economist there. We had women who were family businesses, who, were journalists in the industry. And so bringing and you see that at Printing United Alliance Expo too, right? It's a very big tent, bringing all these communities and segments together. And so seeing that as a microcosm with women in the industry at the event Adrienne was talking about in Chicago was very cool. Seeing it firsthand in DC, where I live, was great too. So yeah, that networking and that community building continues to be I think what people are really craving. We have also had some great virtual events, and those are what we call our professional development workshops. We did our first ever book chat, which was very cool, kind of like channeling like the Oprah book club or the Read with Jenna Good Morning America book club, where we selected one book, and all of our members who decided to partake in this event read the same book over the same 2 months. And then we came together virtually with the author, who was able to dive a little deeper into the themes. It was a professional women's related book, and take Q&A from the audience and just have an interactive session. So we're trying to do the in-person. We're continuing with virtual events. And as I said, we're led by a great advisory council, and they get great ideas from women in the industry all the time about what they'd like to see. And we continue to try and incorporate as many as possible.
Awesome.
And just to piggyback on that, with what Elizabeth is saying, this is really the first, organization of its kind that covers the entire print industry. And there are just so many benefits to meeting women who are not just in your sector of print, but in all sectors, especially as so many businesses are becoming one-stop shops and adding new offerings. We're seeing wide format printers all of a sudden adding apparel and vice versa. And so when you're able to meet with people outside of your specific area, the sky's the limit on not only what you can learn from each other, but maybe there's business opportunities. And I think it's really great that this is covering all aspects: commercial, wide format, packaging, apparel, etc.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's I think that's kind of what makes this so awesome, right? Is that breadth of, because obviously not in that segment, not women in print here, but I'm in the industry. We understand that there's this huge potential that if we don't get everybody at the table talking about the issues, then we're not going to be able to move ourselves forward as an industry. And that's why, just for me personally, I've had an opportunity to meet and get to know Ann Crum, for example, one of your advisory council members, and learn so much from her, right? But we're not in the same space, similar, right? All that kind of stuff. So I completely agree with what you're saying there, Adrian, and what you guys have shared here. So that's some pretty cool milestones. Anything else that we miss there inside of that? I mean, obviously you got lots happening, but didn't want to move forward if we didn't cover everything.
I would just mention that another piece of our mission, I said it, to attract, advance, and advocate for women. The advocacy piece has been really interesting to see because I think my background is in government affairs and legislation and lobbying, and so I've spent a lot of my career connecting with business owners, men and women, connecting them with their local, representatives or their U.S. representatives, U.S. senators. And so we've really extended that to Women in Print Alliance. And it's really been fun to see. Brooke Hamilton, for example, one of our members in Tulsa, has hosted, I think, both of her U.S. senators at this point at her plant for a facility tour. I think Lane Hickey Wiggins, who's our co-chair advisory council member, has hosted a facility tour. And I mentioned we had a meetup in DC. There were a handful of women who came. They were here for the Printing United Alliance legislative fly-in, but we were able to get together kind of separately. And, I would call it heels on the hill, but those marble halls are really not great. So, it's really more like sneakers on the hill. But yeah, we all got together. There were women who were able to go and be together in meetings with senators and representatives, and really talking about workforce development from the working woman's perspective. And so I like seeing that. I like when we post on LinkedIn about advocacy matters or action alerts for workforce development and education, training related legislation. The engagement's really high. So I do think that there's a real interest that women out there in the industry have in learning how they can use their voices to advocate, not just for themselves at their company, but advocate for their company, their industry, with some of these stakeholders, particularly lawmakers. So I think it'll be fun to see where that where that goes.
Amazing. Amazing. All in a year. Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty cool stuff. Well, okay. So not only that, right? You guys also have a student membership category. I remember you telling us about that when you were on last year with us. So let me start with you, Adrian, first here. Curious your take on why that is important for the future of the industry.
Yeah. What's that song? I believe the children are the future. I mean,
Yeah.
not to be corny, but I mean, it's
Yeah.
true. We need students, specifically diverse students, to see the print industry as a career option. And for young female students to already have a built-in mentor or a community of women, it's paramount. I know I didn't know about digital print or any of this industry at all when I was in high school. But if I did, maybe I would have had a different entry point, I guess, into it. And I know I'm not a printer, I'm a journalist, but, coming into this industry at 22 years old, I didn't see a ton of women, it's very male dominated. And it just felt like an old boys club. And, I even find myself to be pretty confident and a social person, but I felt super uncomfortable walking up to booths, with men who treated me differently because I was a young woman. And so if I would have had this, 13 years ago, I think, my entry point into this industry would have been a little bit different. I would have felt maybe more welcomed and felt like there was a seat at the table for me. So I think that, students being able to be a part of this at a younger age, it's amazing that we have that option.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And everything that you said, right? Like it definitely can. Terry and I have never been part of the old boys club either. We're not the cool kids table. So we just kind of made our own table, but, and I think that's what you guys have shown, right? Like just come together and let's just advocate for the greater good and the people that are being left behind. So love that. Thank you for sharing that, Adrian. Elizabeth, I'd love your take on this from the organizational side of things, right? Like what does that mean for Printing United and why was that important to you guys to have that category?
Sure. Well, it was important to have for a couple of reasons. One, as Adrian mentioned, just the outreach and kind of creating an entry point for women who are, studying, whether they're in a 2-year, 4-year program, maybe not even studying print, but just kind of print curious. And that's why we were very determined that our student membership would be a free membership. So any female student who has a .edu email address for an American university, and we actually have some students who are a student in Egypt, student in the UK. They don't have the same .edu, so I say that just because if there's anyone listening who is curious, we are a global organization, and reach out to us if you're encountering some issues with the student membership. We're happy to accommodate everyone. But what's also important is that it creates, again, just the opportunity for these women to see role models. And we are really proud to present a bi-weekly podcast called Her Imprint that spotlights a woman in the industry who has led in some unique way. And I call it really mass mentoring, because if you're a student member in our organization and you're being fed every 2 weeks a podcast where women get really raw and really candid about, what they've achieved, how they failed, how they've grown from that, how they got into print, how their career has wound in really, unique ways. That's an incredible value to be able to get that kind of access to hear those women every 2 weeks. And so that's one thing that we think is so important, providing those role models and that mass mentorship. But also one thing we realized, and I was fortunate enough to be invited to Clemson University's Employer Intern Day this spring. And so that was really incredible. I got to meet with a lot of young women. They were juniors and seniors who were seeking both internships and employment post-graduation. They were vibrant, they were confident, I did a little video series, kind of Woman on the Street. And I said, okay, I'm going to ask you, if you could ask a woman who's been in the industry for at least 5 years for a piece of advice, what would you ask her? And I was really surprised that probably a third of them led with something related to how do you maintain your confidence in an industry that's so dominated by men. And I thought, wow, they've done these internships. They've walked around student days at expo and trade shows. They're not afraid. They don't fear it, but they're very aware that they may be an only or one of two women on a sales team or on an operational project, and they're, like I said, they're not afraid of it, but they want some skills on how to manage it and how to succeed in that environment. And so in addition to listening to the podcast and having these role models, we decided to extend our student membership 1 year postgraduate at that free rate, so that it not only helps as women are looking for jobs, but also as they're transitioning into the industry. And, they're just starting salary. They're having to make some budget decisions. They might not be at the point where they can pay to join as an individual member of our organization. So we don't want them to fall through the cracks. So we're very excited to be able to extend that. And I've really, just on a personal level, loved seeing the LinkedIn feed come across where women that I met at Clemson are now announcing their jobs. There was a young woman I met. She's very outstanding. And I thought this woman's going to go places. She knew what she wanted. She wanted to go into sales. And she just announced a few weeks ago that she is now new with Sandy Alexander. And she's on her way with a great company in the industry. And so, she got her student membership. She's keeping it through her first year at Sandy Alexander. And, I think we're putting young women on the right path to get started. And that's what we want to do.
I love it. That's awesome. Well, so along those lines, can you share an example of how the organization has supported a student or an individual member or a business, and shows the power of this community?
I think
I'm happy to share an example.
I think
I'm happy to share an example, because as you said that, it immediately clicked into my mind something that it was actually funny, because I was the total third wheel on this connection. And I just sat back and thought, oh, this is how this is supposed to work. I am supposed to be the third wheel and the facilitator. But when we got together for our regional meetup in Charlotte, it was really interesting, because Nikki Bowen, who I know is a familiar to this audience, Nikki was there. And she told me ahead of time, there's a young woman that's joining the organization, and she'll be at the meetup, and she, keep an eye out for her when she arrives. She doesn't know anybody yet. And so by the end of the evening, I just sat back as Nikki and Lee Gilbert, she's outstanding, new in the apparel industry with Treehouse Creations. And Nikki, as you know, with Cotton Street, they just sat and they were able to connect, as Adrian said, with business opportunities. Lee had a lot of questions that were kind of apparel related, questions about vendors and networking and how to deal with suppliers and first sales calls and that type of thing. And just seeing that connection. And then I found out they had met before at Expo. Lee had gone not knowing anybody, and Nikki had kind of seen her standing around and was like, hey, just come with us to the such and such event. And, that very organic connection, kind of socially and bringing people together, as you mentioned, Aaron, and then seeing it flourish to not only kind of a personal relationship, but a really hopefully valuable professional relationship too. That I know that I witnessed that firsthand. I hope and I believe that those connections are taking place, when I'm not sitting there at the table or when Adrian's not in the room. So that's what we want to encourage.
That's awesome. Amazing. Cool.
Well, Adrian, do you have something to add to that?
Wow, not as incredible as that story, but it did actually remind me of something back in 2019, and it was before the membership took off and Elizabeth was involved. But it was still really empowering, I think, for all women in the room. And this is when we used to do a breakfast at Printing United Expo, which was always sold out, even in Vegas at 7:30 in the morning. But I interviewed Ariel Swedrow, and she was a teen. She's in her 20s now, of course, but she was a teen fashion designer using digital print. And it was like, okay, this is the future of the industry. Passionate, intelligent, kind, driven. And at the time, it was just such a reminder to me how important it is to work with students, specifically female students, and just show them all the possibilities with print. And I think it also changed people's minds in the room too, to see like, wow, look at what this young woman is doing with fashion, with print. And I think it just ties into all of what we're doing with the education and mentorship and networking and community. So yeah, that was pre membership, but I think it was just like another reminder of like what is so capable, not just in this room of 200 women, but within this industry.
So powerful. Wow. All right. Well, we need to take a second and process all that. So we're going to use this moment here to shout out to our sponsor, Promo Hunt, and hear a little word from them. And then we will come back and let's start looking ahead a little bit here. So Eric, whenever you're ready, let's hear from Promo Hunt, please.
If you sell decorated apparel, then you're constantly on supplier websites like Sanmar, Alpha Broder, and SNS Activewear, comparing prices and checking inventory. Stop wasting time comparing prices the hard way. Just install PromoHunt's free browser extension. Then, when you're on a supplier website, PromoHunt will automatically compare your prices with all your suppliers and will let you know if you can save. With PromoHunt, you'll always be just one click away from seeing all your prices and inventory in one screen. PromoHunt shows other helpful information too, like similar product ideas, supplier phone numbers, preferred pricing, and coupons on thousands of supplier websites. PromoHunt saves you time and money, helping you quickly find and buy great products at competitive prices. The best part is that PromoHunt is completely free. Join 7,000 decorators and distributors that use PromoHunt every day to save time and money. Visit promohunt.com and sign up in less than 60 seconds.
All right. So appreciate the support of Promo Hunt. And so make sure you guys go check them out. I'm excited to get back into this here, you guys. So your organization, it's heading into the second year of the formal membership situation. So Elizabeth, what are you kind of hoping to accomplish? And then maybe Adrian, you could share some of your thoughts, from the advisory side, kind of the goals of the community. So let's start there. Elizabeth, can you help unpack that for me?
Sure. Well, I mentioned earlier that the advisory council, and me too, as the director, we hear a lot from women in the industry. Wouldn't it be cool if we did X? Or why doesn't Women in Print Alliance offer Y? And so I do think it's important to take a moment. And I think, Aaron, you mentioned like, wow, that's been a lot in a year.
Yeah.
But we are, we want to roll out new enhanced benefits, but we want to do so responsibly so that we can fulfill all of those member benefits. So we are always looking at, how can we enhance, whether it's our individual, our corporate, or our student memberships, how can we enhance those and continue to bring new value and fresh ideas and stay current on some of the trends that are out there in the industry and in business in general. So that's kind of an overall mindset of how I know we have approached year two. And so a couple of those enhancements that we are rolling out for you two, and I'll year two, I'll break a little news here because we haven't announced it yet. It'll be coming out in our newsletter next week. But we started out talking about workforce development and the fact that that's a burning issue in our industry, and we know that. And part of our platform really is to raise the visibility of female talent in the industry. And we thought, okay, we're doing that, But how can we do that and also kind of connect that with employers who are looking for their next great hire? And so we have launched a career resources tool. Actually, it's an I would say integrated kind of two tools in one on our website, womeninprintalliance.org. And we've launched a talent directory, which you can think of as kind of our own LinkedIn, if you will, and a job board. Now, the talent directory is really key for our individual women members. We already have a membership directory that is kind of a safe space for women to find one another that, in our membership community. But we have added the ability for women to opt into a talent directory. So they can go to their member profile, post a headshot, post a bio, talk about some of their accomplishments in that bio, provide their LinkedIn channel, but also direct, secure ways for employers to contact them via email or even through chat on the Women Alliance website. So it's really an opportunity for women to put themselves out there. Maybe they're not, looking for a job currently. Maybe they are a consultant and they're open to new clients or new work. Maybe they are always interested in hearing about a new opportunity. But we know that the printing industry career pathway is not linear. And we've talked before, and you talk on your show about all the convergence that the industry is seeing. And so we want to be sure that women are putting themselves out there and again, giving them a platform for visibility of their talent. So we're very excited for women to join the talent directory. There are already some women who have opted in, and it's pretty cool. When you go to our talent directory, you just start scrolling down and you see just the faces of all the women who are out there in different sectors of the industry who make up that talent pool. And for employers, I think this is important too. Employers obviously are listing jobs on LinkedIn. It's very crowded. It's, multi-industry. We wanted to create an opportunity for employers to post jobs to a kind of finite pool of women and really efficiently find those women. And so for our corporate members, we have launched the opportunity for them to submit currently at this time, unlimited job postings on our website that can be accessed then by our members. We also offer the opportunity for those corporate members to opt to allow Women in Print Alliance to share the job listings on our own website or on our own newsletter and LinkedIn channel. So it's really an integrated tool looking to match female talent with the jobs that are out there. And we couldn't be more excited to be able to kind of be the matchmaker, hopefully, of some really great new relationships. So that is our newest, biggest, most exciting membership benefit that we've rolled out. So if you're a corporation and you're listening to this and you haven't joined yet, as a corporate member, all of the women in your company get the benefits of the individual member. So, if you're a company, you're even a small company of 20 women, you join, and our membership is tiered for corporate members by total employee headcount, right? Because we know that smaller companies are not going to be able to afford a membership on the scale of a Canon or a Fuji, for example. So we really want to be able for all companies of all sizes to participate. So not only do the women employees at your company get those benefits and the professional development seminars and the networking invitations and all of those great benefits, but you as a company then are able to utilize our platform for your job placement and your job posting. So we're super excited about that and happy to talk to any company who wants to explore how they can add that to their talent acquisition toolkit.
Amazing. Well, Adrienne, that's some pretty cool stuff happening there. I could see you smiling and in excitement there. But as a kind of member of the community as well, what talk about that and any other goals that you've got going forward here.
Yeah, I'm just fired up. I'm so excited. I mean, hearing all of this come to fruition, I can't thank Lisbeth and her team and Printing United Alliance enough. I mean, this is what we've been working on for more than a decade, or almost a decade, I guess. And just to like hear everything that is available to women and businesses in this industry, I'm just so excited. Like, I know I can't stop smiling because this is just, it's just so incredible. Like that this is an opportunity for women in the industry to have this. And then also for employers. And I'm glad that Elizabeth brought up the corporate membership, because I think that is so important. And I think that, you know, as it is a male dominated industry, we do need male leaders to be supporting their female employees, and this is such a great way to get involved. I think your question was about, you know, goals as a member of the community, really just growth in terms of membership and getting this out to, you know, the wider audience. The print industry is massive, and I'm at more and more events. I'm seeing more and more women. And so just getting this in front of them, having more meetups, seeing more women involved, I think is a goal of mine, just because I think that this can continue to grow and grow and grow. And I'm really happy to be a part of it.
That's super awesome. Cool.
Yeah, the job postings, that's a huge benefit. That's awesome. But Adrian, you kind of touched on this before. Let's talk a little bit about the challenges and the strengths that women bring to leadership roles in print today, and something you specifically mentioned. How do you think that the organization contributes to broader diversity, equity in the industry?
Yeah. So you mentioned strengths in leadership roles for women, and I recently attended Colorways here in Chicago. It's a group and event for women of color in the decorated apparel industry, and I highly recommend checking it out and attending the next event if you are a woman of color, specific to screen printing and apparel. The event was fantastic, but we were saying how so many people will say like, well, I only hire women because they're so detail oriented and they see things my male employees don't see, or, you know, we're hiring moms because they really care. And yes, as women, we are the best at what we do. Yes. But that's from generations of having to fight for a seat at the table and having to be the best because there may be only one seat available for us. So it's an interesting conversation. You know, what strengths do women bring to leadership? You know, I mean, like I said, we are the best. But it's an interesting conversation to have, to see like why we are that way, and the strengths we have in leadership, based on generations before us. So yes, hire us because we, you know, are fantastic at what we do. But it's also super important to be paying us equally to our male counterparts. And I think that is a big challenge in terms of women, you know, climbing the ladder. There are issues there because sometimes even when we do get to higher roles, we're not getting paid enough, and that's definitely a problem. And okay, what was your?
Well, and you had talked earlier about how the organization's contributing to broader diversity, that sort of thing, and if you have any more comments about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think DEI is such a hot topic right now, and it's something that's super important that we cannot take away, within, you know, our country and within businesses. We are better as an industry and as businesses if we have people of diversity in all different factors. And of course, you know, we focus on women in print because we are women in print. But it's super important to be looking at people, you know, across the board to hire, but also remember, don't just hire to check a box. But yeah, I mean, I think that the Women in Print Alliance is doing a really good job to contribute to DE&I, and at least having these conversations. Like Elizabeth said, there's a lot of education opportunities. We'll talk about the opportunities, you know, in Orlando. But I think even just having this and having Printing United Alliance, you know, kind of have our back on this is huge, especially in this climate where people are saying like that's not important, which it's incredibly important to keep these programs alive within our industry.
Agreed.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right.
May I add on to that for a second?
Yeah, please. Absolutely. 100%.
That was all wonderful what Adrian said, but you know, you talk about DE&I, and again, I just go back to workforce development because it's so easy, particularly now in our country, to politicize DE&I and the jargon. And certainly that beginning of this year, there were a lot of really big companies making headlines like weekly that they were pulling back on DE&I initiatives. And I think it's important, and I think that's settled, hopefully a little bit, that we realize that when we talk in the printing industry about diversity and equity and inclusion, we're talking about the fact that I think the last statistic I heard from an age perspective was that the average employee in the printing industry is 48 years old. So we're talking about diversity and age. We're talking about bringing in next gen talent. We're talking about, racial, ethnic diversity, geographic diversity. That all ties into the fact that it's just about widening the pool and welcoming, populations that maybe have been less represented in print to the industry. And there's a great statistic, I think it's a Deloitte statistic, I'd have to look it up again, but that talks about when you have diversity of thought and in a C-suite or a board of directors, and companies that have kind of this plurality of thought are more likely to bring a new product to market faster. There are all sorts of, and there are actually some statistics that show they're less likely to make a mistake because they're not kind of going with groupthink and, what they've always done before. If they've added some new diverse voices around the C-suite table that is able to offer some different perspectives and change kind of the risk calculation. So there are some real business cases to be made for having diverse voices, not just women, but diversity in general at leading companies. And I think that's an important thing to point out.
Love it. Thank you.
The age of 48, that's an interesting statistic. We definitely need to replenish the pool.
Well, especially because there aren't as many, especially in the like wide format sector, commercial sector, a lot of those small shops are family businesses, and the succession plan does not look the same as it did, 10, 20 years ago. Kids are not wanting to get in the family business and they're going in different directions. And so then it's like, well, what are we doing with this? And typically, then a 25 or 30-year-old would maybe come on board, and that's just not happening as much.
Yeah. I mean, we saw that in the sublimation world with a big company shuttering its doors because there wasn't that succession plan. So, all right. Well, this man, you guys covered so much great ground, gave us such good understanding of how we can be better as an industry here. We've got Printing United Expo coming up here. Lisbeth, I know you guys are going to have your largest presence ever there as far as women in print. And so kind of maybe give us the quick rundown, but what are you most excited for this year? And then I've got a question for Adrian as well after that.
Sure. Well, I have to say, I'm a networker by nature and I work from home. So on a selfish note, I'm really excited to go to Expo because I get to see people and talk to people and, male colleagues, female colleagues, members, non-members. So you'll find me pretty regularly stationed at the Women in Print Alliance table, which is in the Printing United Alliance booth. Okay. But in terms of, our presence there, it really is an extension of what our year-round programming is all about. We'll have some networking events, including a membership reception, and the current iteration of the breakfast Adrian mentioned is now a luncheon. Draws usually around 200 women. We have a keynote speaker. This year we have a Harvard business coach trained negotiation coach. Wow. So the vendors better be on guard when the women come out of this lunch because they're going to learn all sorts of great negotiating skills and techniques that they're going to take back to be buying equipment and negotiating some good prices. But no, we do have that lunch. That's always a highlight. It's also a highlight because I've had women tell me it's the one time during the 3 or 4 days of Expo where they eat a full meal. Because you can, and we serve you. You are served. You do not have to walk through a buffet. I'm very, very strict about that. It's a off your feet 2 hours, focus on yourself and personal growth a little bit. So those are our networking events. We also have added some educational events this year, and really excited. I know you guys have been longtime allies and supporters of just the whole effort to really champion and support more women in the industry. And so I'll be hosting our first ever all male panel, and really talking to some male CEOs and presidents and leaders in the industry, really about culture. That's what it's about, right? About, what they're doing at their companies to support women, how they're modeling for younger men in their companies that it's cool and important to, to work with and respect the women that they're their peers. And so I think that'll be a really interesting conversation. And also on the educational side, I'll mention that there is an AI pavilion you might have heard about. And Adrian mentioned pay gaps. We're really determined not to let AI become kind of the next trigger of wage disparity or pay disparity or hiring disparity, because women think maybe it doesn't apply to their particular job in print. So we're going to be doing all we can as an organization to really help educate women about AI and how they can apply it to their jobs. So we will be doing a meetup and a floor tour of some AI solution providers. So those are really the highlights. And again, we always have fun. We're going to have some fun at our booth. We're going to have California Tattoo Company is joining us. I don't know if y'all know that print and promo company. They're out of Tucson. And they specialize in temporary tattoos. So if you want to get like temporarily ink on skin, get your badge of honor and support Women in Print Alliance, men and women alike, come to our booth, get your temporary tattoo, and spark some conversation on the show floor with your big W badge that you've got on your arm.
I can do that. I have a huge fear of needles, so I can't get a real tattoo, but that one sounds perfect for me.
We're looking forward to seeing everyone in Orlando.
What's some great programs there. So Adrian, my question for you is, I know the easy answer is it's all of it is can't miss, but let's just say, you had to pick one, right? Very difficult question. I'm putting you on the spot here, but what do you feel like is a can't miss moment for you in Orlando?
Okay, well, obviously, I mean, now I'm going to answer with three.
Okay, that's fine. I knew it would be hard.
Well, no, I guess it's just answering back to, I didn't know about the tattoos, so that's awesome. Now I can actually feel like I'm part of the screen printing community. I can get a tattoo because I've just been an outlier without tattoos the entire time. Now I can really be part of, one with my people now that I have a tattoo, so that's good. And then also, I will get to my favorite, but I did want to comment on the all male panel.
Yeah.
Having male allies in this space is so important, especially for younger men to see, like the standard. So much is always put on the woman. I'll just give an example. I was at a breakfast for a different organization in the sign industry, and an entire panel of women were talking about how they go to a booth and they're not treated the same as their male counterpart, or even they're at have someone in their own facility and they're like, well, where's your husband, or whatever. And the whole conversation was based on how us as women can react to them, what we can say. And I raised my hand and I was like, let's get this at the issue is not us as women, it's how men are being told to treat women at their booth or in their facility or wherever. So to have men higher up in companies saying this is what we're doing. We're telling our employees at a booth to treat everyone the same. Treat everyone as if they are the decision makers or, the buyers. And so for me, that's so important, get that at the root. So it's not an issue that us as women consistently have to deal with and have, some response that we have to give. So love that. But I think my number one thing would be the luncheon. It's what we've been doing for so many years, looking around, seeing 200 female leaders in a space is so powerful. They're taking the time off the show floor, which we rarely get to do. And we're learning, we're networking. Yes, we are off our feet. Fantastic. Love it. But there's just so much in there. And then obviously all of these women are learning so much about the programs that we've put in place. So Elizabeth has just done an amazing job creating a jam-packed, few days. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I love it. I knew that was going to be impossible, but I thought I'd try. and I loved
Nice try,
everything.
Aaron. Nice try.
Yeah.
You can only name one, right? So,
I'm
Elizabeth,
looking forward to that, Terry. Real quick, sorry. I want to I want to show up at that panel because again, like we just have to have the knowledge, right? Like maybe these things are things that talk generationally, right? That this is our subconscious kind of acting, and I got to go. How do I get better? And I think this is what this is all about. How do we get better as an industry as a whole? So anyhow, sorry, Terry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, hey, anybody who's listening to the show, they want to support, or they want to join Women Print Alliance. What's the next step? Elizabeth?
Our website is really the best place to go. And I think that you might show that somewhere. It's womeninprintalliance.org. There's a membership section that describes all of the membership prices and levels. The career resources that I talked about are there. And also, I really encourage people to follow us on LinkedIn. That is our primary social media channel, and it's kind of real time what's happening. So those are both the best places to get in touch with us. And I always say DM me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn every day. I think you guys know that. I stalk you.
Yes.
Yes, I love how active you are there. And Eric's got it up on screen for us there, and we'll get it in the comments and the show notes as well. So awesome.
Thanks.
You guys, we are out of time here. Let's keep this conversation going in October. How about that?
Love it.
All right.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Awesome. Thanks.
Bye.
Great seeing you both.
Bye.
Super cool, Terry. What a great conversation.
Awesome.
I've been looking forward to that, and I can't wait to get to see everybody in person in October 22nd through the 24th is the expo. And I'm going to have to go look up that panel and get that on my calendar as well. So
yeah, it's around the corner. So
shush. All right. Speaking of around the corner, Terry, where are you off to? I think you're about to get on a plane soon.
I am heading to the airport here in about an hour. My complete screen printing business course. I'm going to be in Chicago at the Atlas Screen Supply location. Earlier in the week, there were 2 seats left, but I'm not sure if those are still available, but you can go to atlasscreensupply.com. I'm going to be back there in Chicago at Atlas November 1st and 2nd. Of course, we'll all be at Printing United October 22nd through 24th. And you can find my upcoming events at terrycombs.com. How about you, Aaron?
Yeah. So before we head off to Orlando, I do get a chance to head to Dallas, the Impressions Expo, just taking a little brief stop from Fort Worth, heading over to Dallas for, I think just this year, Fort Worth Convention Center is actually having some work done to it. So they couldn't, so it's not available. So we're going to meet in Dallas this year. And I get to actually facilitate a panel there about DTF printing, as well as have another session. So just head over to impressionsexpo.com and you can get registered for that event. I actually have a code that will allow you to get on the show floor for free. So if you'll reach out to me, I will get you that code. You can just reach out through Two Regular Guys here. And then, as you mentioned, Terry, we're going to be out at the Printing United Expo. And each and every day I put a reply to somebody on LinkedIn today. 47 days and counting is the official count as of today. So if you want to check that out, printingunited.com/attend. And if you'll use the code 141404, that will get you onto that show floor for free. And I get to teach 3 different sessions there as far as doing some educating. I'm going to be hosting and emceeing the annual Media Day event, as well as getting to facilitate 2 other sessions in the apparel zone. Probably be spending a good chunk of my time in the apparel zone. Terry, you and I will probably be doing podcasts, all sorts of cool stuff happening. So I love that Printing United Alliance is so focused on education on top of all of the other things that they do. They don't lose sight of the need for our industry to have that education. And so I'm really excited about that, Terry.
Yep.
And then Eric, continuing on, just amazing stuff that he puts out every week over there. The Take Up is happening this afternoon. It's episode 235, title of Staking Your Claim on the Production Spectrum. So in the episode, Eric's going to explore the operation of different sizes and styles of embroidery production, from single piece customization to mass contract decorators. He'll discuss the different ways in which each style of decoration provides value to customers and help you consider where you fit on that production spectrum. Oh, that's really cool. I love how he's breaking down that. That's a nuance that I think that our industry misses. So, just because you can doesn't mean you should, I guess is what I'm saying, Terry.
Exactly.
Yeah, Eric is going to be doing that at 2:30 Mountain Time, 4:30 Eastern Time this afternoon. So check that out. You can find all information about it at ericcampbell.com. If you'll click the Take Up tab at the top, and you can find that show this afternoon, plus all of the previous 234 plus episodes of the Take Up. Eric will also be at the Impressions Expo in Dallas. He's teaching the Technique Toolkit and all about mascot embroidery and digitizing. I'm still looking for my big mascot head to wear into that class, so before he kicks me out, but it should be a good time.
Eric's holding firm to that Mountain Time, even though he lives in Pennsylvania now.
He's going to too. He's like, it's sticking in his heart. All right, Terry. Well, what an amazing show today. Just want to thank Lisbeth and Adrian for their time and all the work that they're doing and everything that they're putting into this. I mean, you could just tell from that conversation, Terry, the heart and soul. Like there were times where I was even kind of feeling a little emotional about how much they're putting into it. So make sure that you are seeking them out there at the Printing United Expo in Orlando and joining the membership there at Women in Print Alliance. Love the conversation about the corporate. That's important, but also any of the students out there. When I was working with the Skills USA program, it was awesome to see in the sublimation competition, it was about 75% women. So let's get them mentors. Let's make sure that they know about it. I will actually forward the Women in Printing Alliance. If I haven't already, I probably did, but I'll just remind the Skills USA organization to share that with their community. So cool stuff happening, Terry. I'm excited about it.
Absolutely. And we also want to thank our show producer, Eric Campbell. Eric had some technical difficulties getting logged in today, but man, he was right on it, pushing those buttons, turning those knobs. So Eric, we always appreciate you, my friend.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Eric. So Terry, next week we're still working on, we're efforting. So stay tuned, and more announcements coming soon on this. But if you know anybody that we need to be talking to, we would love to hear from them. So just reach out, info@tworegularguys.com. But we will have a great show for you next week as well.
Absolutely. Until then, I'm Terry Combs. He's Aaron Montgomery.
And that was the Two Regular Guys.
Here we go. We're out.
Awesome.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Two Regular Guys. We're here because of listeners like you, and we're so grateful to have you on this journey with us. For more valuable insight, be sure to visit our website, 2regularguys.com, and join the conversation on our Facebook page. And hey, if you or someone you know has expertise, a unique perspective, or a story worth sharing, we'd love to have them as a guest on the show. Just reach out. Remember, success in this industry isn't just about the equipment you own or the techniques you've mastered. It's about the mindset you bring and the connections you build. Keep learning, stay curious, and don't be afraid to think differently. Keep pressing on, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Two Regular Guys.